In 2008, during my freshman year of college, I took a job as a front desk agent at Great Wolf Lodge. I opted for the night position, as I figured I'd have more time to do homework and all that. The job was fine. I mostly just had to stay behind the desk, in case any guests needed assistance during the night. Most of the time, I wouldn't really have anything to do, and it was honestly pretty boring. That was until we got the Wiley animatronic. I first saw the animatronic when I arrived at the lodge one night for work. It was in one of the staff corridors, and I can't lie, it kind of creeped me out, because I had no idea what it was supposed to be at first. There was no costume on it, so it was just a metal skeleton surrounded by wires, tubes, and whatever else was needed to run the thing. It took me a few minutes to pick up on the fact that it was an animatronic. When I asked around as to what it was for, I learned that my manager had bought it from a company that sold animatronics at a discount, and that the owner had seemed oddly relieved to get rid of it, and he was planning to dress it up as our mascot, Wiley the Wolf. He would then set it up in the lobby to entertain guests as they checked in. Great, so I would have that thing staring at me all night. A few nights later, the Wiley animatronic was set up, and when I took my place at the desk around 11 p.m., I got my first real look at it. It seemed to be powered down, as it stayed perfectly still and just stared ahead into the dark lobby. But what weirded me out were its eyes. Even though it was turned away from me, I felt like it was watching me. They almost looked too real to be an animatronic. Anyway, I tried to ignore it and get some homework done. This proved to be harder than anticipated, because every time there was a noise in the lobby, I couldn't help but glance at Wiley, expecting it to have been the source of the noise. But every time I looked at it, it was still perfectly stationary. At around 4 a.m., I couldn't take it anymore and walked over to the robot. I figured that if I got a good look at it, then it wouldn't be so scary, since I'd be used to its appearance. I had to admit, the costume was pretty good, but when I got to its eyes, I felt an overwhelming sense of fear, especially when I reached up and waved a hand in front of Wiley's face to make sure it didn't react. Obviously, it didn't do anything, but it was still just so eerie. The next few nights were more of the same, and eventually a week passed. That was when things got bad with it. The first part that was strange about it was that there was a makeshift curtain hung up around the Wiley. I asked my manager about it, and all he said was, "It kept acting strange today. Wouldn't go more than 5 minutes without freezing up. Guess that's why I pretty much got it for free." About an hour later, a mom and her little girl came up to the desk to complain about the AC in their room being broken. While I was assuring them I'd send someone up to fix it, the curtains around Wiley slowly slid open, and the animatronic turned its head to face us. How I managed to finish the interaction with the mom and the little girl without screaming is a wonder. As soon as they left, I nearly dove behind the desk in fear. Why was Wiley doing that? Wasn't it powered off at night? When I peeked out from behind the counter, the curtains were closed again, and I had to hold my breath to keep from hyperventilating as I crossed the lobby to peek behind the curtain to see if Wiley was still looking at the front desk. When I pulled back the curtain, I found that Wiley was seemingly turned off. And just like the other night, there was no reaction when I waved my hand in its face. For the next few nights, every time there was a guest in the lobby, especially children, Wiley's curtains would open and the animatronic would once again turn to face them. I figured it was somehow programmed to know where the guests were. Finally, one Thursday night, I came into work to find that Wiley was completely unplugged from the wall. His head was drooping down, and he just stared at the floor instead of straight ahead as usual. "Damn thing can't work for more than a day," my manager complained when I asked what was wrong with it. "I'm about ready to ask for a refund from the factory." Isn't there a book or something on it? I asked. There is, but it's in Russian or something. I can't understand a word of it. While my manager was upset, I was secretly delighted. With the animatronic out of commission, I could finally relax and go about my night as usual. Boy, was I wrong. Around 2 a.m., I thought I heard what sounded like a little girl's voice coming from behind Wiley's curtains. While it was possible a little kid had run in here and gone behind them, I probably would have heard them run down the hallway. Hello? I called. If someone's here, don't touch Wiley. You could break him. I could still hear the voice, so I decided to go see what was going on. I once again pulled back the curtain to find the animatronic was alone, and still completely lifeless. Figuring sleep deprivation was causing me to hear things, I turned to walk away, when Wiley's mouth began opening and closing rapidly, and the little girl's voice once again began. This time I could make out what it was saying. Take my place. Take my place. Take my place. Let me just say, running away from it at full speed right then probably saved my life. I practically dove over the front counter and immediately called my supervisor. Sue, there's something seriously wrong with the Wiley animatronic. It's... Look, Nate's been trying to fix that thing all week. Whatever it's doing, I'm sure it's nothing. She interrupted. Then she hung up. As silly as it sounds, I spent the rest of the night hiding under the desk, unable to look at the animatronic. The next night's incident was the worst by far. Around 11 p.m., a dad came into the lobby with his 2 kids, a boy and a girl, to complain that the people in the room above him were being loud and that his kids couldn't sleep. As I'd come to expect, Wiley's curtains opened and he just stared in our direction. However, he had begun to chant again, this time faster than before. Take my place, take my place, take my place. Daddy, look at the wolf, the little girl said, pointing over at Wiley. The father barely glanced in her direction as she ran over to the animatronic. I wanted to yell at the kid to get away from it, not caring her father was a foot in front of my face. Unfortunately, that wasn't an option. I was in the middle of assuring the man that we'd let security know to check out the room in question, when the little girl let out a scream that was so loud it probably woke the entire hotel. Wiley had grabbed her by the top of the head and was hoisting her into the air. Her dad rushed over and tried to pry the animatronic's hand open, but it was no use. Wiley's mouth and eyes opened wide as he let out one final, "Take my place," before dropping the now lifeless girl. I don't even remember what happened next. Between the father and the brother screaming, my own screaming, and the sound of people running into the lobby to see what was wrong, it was all just a blur. I tried telling the police, my supervisor, the father, everyone, that Wiley had been behind it and that something was wrong with the animatronic, but nobody believed me. The cause of death was ruled an accidental fall, that the girl had been climbing on the animatronic and slipped off. I'm not sure anyone really believes that. Nobody at our lodge ever saw the animatronic again. I was told a few days later that my manager was so eager to get rid of it, he drove it to the dump himself. He didn't even want to wait for the garbage truck to take it away. However, he never arrived at the dump and was never heard from again. I sometimes find myself wondering what happened to him and whether that Wiley is still out there, somewhere. God, I really hope not.